Here we go. This is minute 24.
24.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kiefer Sutherland.
Here we go.
You know. I had been out all evening at the movies.
Do you miss him?
Well, it's a matter of life after death. Now that he's dead, I have a life.
But he was your second husband. Your first husband also disappeared.
But that was his job. He was an illusionist.
But he never reappeared.
He wasn't a very good illusionist.
I have something to say. I'm not going to wait for Wadsworth here to unmask me. I work for the State Department, and I'm a homosexual. I feel no personal shame or guilt about this, but I must keep it a secret or I will lose my job on security grounds. Thank you.
Well, it just leaves Mr. Body.
What's your little secret?
His secret?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Clue the Movie Podcast, where we talk about the 1985 cult classic film Clue, 1 minute at a time. My name is Brad Gilmore, joined by Jeff Smith. Jeff, we are at minute 24.
Yes, we
starts
are.
with the continued explanation from Mrs. White, and it ends with the question posed to Mr. Body of what his secret was, and then we cut off. So
Sometimes these cutoffs are very well timed.
they really are. Like, it's so great.
Yeah.
This minute had a lot. We not only finish with Mrs. White, we hear from Mr. Green. There's a lot of nonverbal communication going on here in
Sure.
different ways that makes it funny. And then the questioning of Mr. Body. So let's pick up with Mrs. White. Now we're almost sure that she killed her husband because, well, this is the second husband that has disappeared under mysterious
you mentioned
circumstances.
The illusionist.
The illusionist was the first one, and she goes, well, he's not a very good illusionist, which I thought was funny.
Right. Again, when we talked about this last time, she's very cold with, and has kind of a joke. Now that he's dead, I have a life. You know, he wasn't a good illusionist. Justified in her killings for sure. Alleged killings. Sorry.
Have you ever seen, I'm sure you have you ever seen Chicago?
Yes.
Okay. For some reason, every time I hear her say that line, like, now that he's dead, I have a
Gianna
life. Yeah, it reminds me of that song where she
Yeah.
goes, he saw himself as alive. I think it was Maya. She goes, he saw himself as alive, and I saw him dead.
Yeah,
He had it
definitely.
coming. You can actually
did
listen
the
to me.
Doug version, too.
You can actually listen to me talking to Maya about her role in Chicago on my collection podcast. It's in there somewhere in the archives.
My early plug on this episode. Very nice.
Early plug.
Yeah, we don't plug
she
that much
also-
other than Clue. That's fine. That's okay.
She also mentioned the Lorena Bobbiting of her husband's.
Yeah, she did. She did it way before Lorena Bobbitt made it. I don't know. It's not cool, but definitely a revenge tactic. So obviously, the nuclear physicist was misbehaving with someone who may or may not be in that house right now, dressed as a maid. Yeah,
Exactly.
And then I love. This is a good scene that shows the different senses of humor that Jonathan Lynn, the writer, has got going on. And we talked about, and actually we got, I saw on Twitter, somebody did not like that we kind of were snooty about poop jokes at the beginning of the movie. But here we have the fast dialogue, which you have to pay attention to, but now it's also a joke about having a wiener cut off. And all the guys cross their legs as if to protect themselves or just feel the nuclear physicist's pain down the road. So yeah, like you said, very good. There's a couple, I'd say 3 really good visual reactions, and the leg cross is the first, and Tim Curry gets the next one with Mr. Green's confession that obviously is nowhere in Wadsworth's notes. as he confesses to be homosexual and has to keep that a secret. I saw Clue years ago. It was a fundraiser for the LGBTQ some group LGBTQ. So it was in Hollywood and actually played at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, where a lot of celebrities are buried. On a big wall, if you see the Clue documentary, there's a quick shot of like all these people on. It looks like a lawn watching it. And it's in the trailer too. It's not a lawn; it's a cemetery, and it was a very big gay crowd. And when he said he had to keep it a secret, they all booed, but more booing, not Mr. Green, but booing the time of 1954, where they had to keep something like their sexuality a secret, or else they'd be fired. But definitely saw Mr. Green as a hero. Although I wonder, depending on the ending, is Mr.
Right.
Green telling the truth based on his last line in ending 3,
Yeah,
which was, I
this
guess,
is.
improvised.
Oh, you think so?
We'll get to that. That's
Okay, yeah, I
we've got an hour before we get to that.
We got a long time. Wait, okay.
Yeah.
So I do. Obviously, there's Mr. Green at the end of the movie. I know we're jumping ahead, but if you're listening to this podcast, you've seen this movie. Like you're
I'd be
not
very
watching it a
surprised if
minute
this
at a
is how
time
you
with it.
decide to introduce yourself to the world of Clue, the movie.
So my question
It's
is
a
this:
dumb way to do it. Yes.
like, even when I saw the live version of the stage play, when Mr. Green reveals at the end of the play, I'm gonna go home and have sex with my wife or sleep with my wife, whichever
Yeah.
the correct phraseology is.
It is sleep. Yeah.
It's one of the big lines of the play. I mean, one of the biggest
Right.
applause moments because it's just it's supposed to misdirect you that he's
Right.
a homosexual and ends up not being. Now,
And by the way, I was lying the whole time. Na-na-na-na-na-na.
right. But I can't really wrap my head around this. Like his reasoning for doing that. Because if he's not really gay,
Yeah.
then the blackmail could have never really been about that ever.
No. And while we were watching that, I know where you're going because I was thinking the same thing. I believed he's got 2 pages worth of stuff. We see Wadsworth holding 2 pages for Mr. Green. And I think Mr. Green says that line as a distraction because he gets up. Wadsworth doesn't get to say anything. He says his line. It makes Wadsworth kind of lose control for a little bit because it's not anywhere in his notes that that he has this whole evening planned out for. He set it up. And then when he sits down, nobody has a comment. It's the only time nobody. I mean, Mrs. Peacock gives a little, disapproving teeth suck kind of sound. The politician of the room has probably done way worse than what she's thinking about him right now. But now he said that he controlled his own little moment, and they just breeze right by him. So we, in the end, don't know if it's the endings where he's not part of FBI, then we never learn what his secret is. And if it's the ending where he's FBI, I guess maybe that is the secret, that he's FBI. Or maybe he could not even be maybe the real Mr. Green. Maybe he goes in undercover. Because we never see him react really to Mr. Body, I don't think. They don't have enough time.
Oh, him not being the real Mr. Green is interesting.
Yeah. That's and then there were 10 Little Indians thing, because in the Agatha Christie story, the guy who's the main character, Philip Lombard, is not the real Philip Lombard that's supposed to be that go to the island. So it could very well be that. I mean, now we're doing exactly what you should be doing in a minute observation. We're ripping this thing apart and probably digging deeper than we need to. But that's a theory.
No,
maybe
because
it's not really him.
in the last minute we were just talking about Glass Onion.
Right.
And without spoiling too much, there is an element of that in Glass Onion.
Oh,
right?
Someone that's not
the real
who they
someone.
say they are. That's true.
And posing as another well-known, established entity in these people's lives.
Yeah.
If so, we can maybe. And here's the thing. Well, they would have to have known, because what I was about to say is maybe Mr. Green, the Michael McKeon's Mr. Green is not the real Mr. Green, and he uses this homosexual thing as a cover up because he's not really aware of the intimate details of the real Mr.
Oh,
Green's blackmail. And
yeah.
maybe he's there for that reason. I'm trying to uncover exactly the details. Like, we've detained this Mr. Green. We know that he did something bad. He's not
Mr. Green
admitting
is
to it.
somewhere locked up.
So now I'm coming here as Mr. Green to try to find out exactly
Right.
what. So let me use this,
He's got to
because again, if
deflect.
he starts, I got to deflect because I'm not aware of
Yeah.
everything.
Something shocking
And
in
I'm
1954.
right. It's shocking that somebody is
And
a
it works very
homosexual.
well because Professor Plum looks over at him. He has to get up, and that's the other reaction. The womanizing Professor Plum, his masculinity is threatened now by
Yeah,
this
he's
man
next to a
sitting
gay
next to
guy.
him, and he has to
Yeah.
get up and move away, and would rather go stand next to Mr. Body than Mr. Green, which is why Professor Plum is still not good.
Very bad man. But this actually, it would make a little bit more sense if we're operating under the assumption that he is undercover the entirety of the time.
Yeah.
That him using that probably would be off-putting to several people. In the time, right? In the
Right.
50s, where this was very taboo. There weren't, I mean, it is weird to
And it's
explain to even.
sure, and I was going to say, and not back with that, but I was going to say this is kind of a hoity-toity, wealthy,
Mhm.
white,
Aristocratic white.
yeah, politician, no
Mhm.
scandals, nothing morally objectionable, at least not that anyone can see. Obviously, they're not that moral because they're all being blackmailed for murder or bribery or adultery or running a brothel. But they put on that disguise, if you will, of being above others. But you were to say it's hard to explain to people
Well, I was
in
gonna say it's hard to
2023.
explain to people in 2023. I mean, and you and I, you're a little bit older than I am, but even in my age range, like, I remember when somebody coming out as a member of the LGBT community was still like, "Oh wow, did you hear such and such?"
Right.
Just came out. I mean, it was still taboo. Today, not really like that at all. Maybe there's an element of it, but overwhelmingly people are like, "Awesome, great for you. That's cool to hear. Like, glad that you're free in your own skin." And there's not as much of a taboo on it. And I can't even imagine explaining to somebody today, like say my nephew who's 13 years old, explaining to him why, if we were to watch Clue together, why this was so taboo of a
Yeah.
subject, I guess. I
He
keep going
probably
back to
wouldn't
that
even look
word.
away from his phone to react to it.
No,
He'd
no,
go,
he's
"Oh,
probably,
okay.
yeah, okay, whatever, sure, okay. But to explain to people, like, honestly, and I'm not trying to get like in the weeds in this subject matter, but to explain to people like "don't ask, don't tell" was a thing, you know,
Yeah," which seems
and
very archaic, and that's not that long ago.
to say that in 2012 was the first time a presidential candidate ran being for gay marriage, like,
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy. Like, it's pretty crazy. Um, and it is hard to kind of even think about that being a world in which we inhabited. But obviously, this country and all countries have passed with atrocities such as that, and some continue to. Thankfully, we're doing a lot better here than most places. But the fact that
Depending
don't
on where you
test, don't
are.
depending on where you are, yeah.
Yeah.
But don't
And by
ask,
the way,
don't
this is
tell.
a moment talking about deep issues with two straight white men, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you enjoyed
Right.
that. We understand.
we get it. But I guess just just trying to put it in context for people who may not.
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know.
it's not dated per se because actually, considering this was 1985 when the movie was made, they could have made a much bigger deal about having a homosexual character. Have you seen the
Right.
movie Mannequin
I've never
with
seen that.
Andrew
No.
McCarthy? Okay, so it's Andrew McCarthy and Kim Cattrall, and he plays a a department store window dresser, and his mannequin comes to life, like you do. But there's another character in the movie called Hollywood, and he is this another window decorator. And Hollywood, everybody look up Hollywood. I'm not saying it's terrible, but he's very flamboyant. It's kind of like Lamar Latrell in Revenge of the Nerds.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of other 80s gay characters where it was just above and beyond.
Very.
So
Yeah.
they could have gone into that kind of area. And really, other than I think there's one line at the end where Miss Scarlet says, "I thought men like you were called a fruit."
Right. When he
You
says
know,
he was a
that's
plant. Yeah.
plant, and I thought, yeah, very funny. But that's about it. It's not really addressed, other than it's kind of funny that he doesn't want to go upstairs with Yvette when all the other men do. Yeah.
Right. And again, like you said, there wasn't a flamboyance to his character. He was just an average. Really, maybe I'm going too far in this, but he was just like an average person. Like you would never think anything other than. They weren't trying to play anything up to an nth degree to make it apparently obvious.
No, he's actually he's pretty bland in the most part. All he's kind of got is I didn't do it, but he doesn't do anything really wrong. He's more of a goody-goody, kind of, but he's more of a nervous character. Like when he has to walk to take the cop around the house for the tour, and he's super nervous. But that's about it. It's funny that Michael McKean is one of my favorite actors, but his character, Mr. Green, is not necessarily one of my favorites because he doesn't have a whole lot to do other than say, I didn't do it, which is ironic. That he didn't do anything.
Yeah. It is a fascinating thing that we will, I guess, examine more as we get to the end of the movie. And maybe by the end of this podcast, we'll make the determination on exactly if this was the real Mr. Green or not. I'm leaning to this isn't the real Mr. Green. This is my new favorite theory.
I never thought about that, but I like it.
It's my new favorite theory. This isn't the real Mr. Green. This is a different guy.
Yeah. It's exciting is finding out that Wadsworth is blocking the cook for Mrs. Peacock, but this is pretty good too.
It's a good theory,
I want to know
at least.
Where the real Mr. Green is.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to know what 80s actor plays him. And I want to think of a world where we cut to him with Howard Hessman as the chief, and like Bill Murray as Mr. Green is tied up somewhere as the real bad guy.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see where this evolves to. Now the last thing we'll talk about is right after Mr. Green's confession of being a closeted homosexual, so he doesn't lose his job at the State Department, and that's why he's being blackmailed. At least that's what he tells us. Professor Plum, you're right, jumps up. He's like, whoa, Mr. Body, we don't know why you're here. Tell us. And then we're about to get
Doc Brown.
Well, yeah, I know.
Great Scott.
Great Scott.
That just leaves Mr. Body.
1.21 gigawatts.
That's 2 plus 2 plus 1. You go on and on, folks. It's a fun impression.
No wonder you're
almost anybody can do it, right?
It's very Doc's easy.
He does it, Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
But he does it from Casualties of War.
You know what I like more? I like impersonating people's impressions of someone. Like I impersonate an impression more than I do the real person, right? Like for instance, like Jimmy Fallon's Jerry Seinfeld, I can kind of do a little bit easier than an actual Jerry Seinfeld. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's over the top. I don't want to be a pirate.
The people that can do an impression where if you close your eyes, you can't tell if it's not them is very impressive. The guy, I forget his name. He's got 3 names. He's on Saturday Night Live right now, and he's the new Trump. And his impression is it's bizarre. It's amazing. It's so good that you really, it's not, because almost everybody tries, Jimmy Fallon, everybody does a Trump. but this guy, it sounds just like him. It's something Austin something. It's Brian Austin
Yeah.
Green. That's who it is from 90210.
Brian Austin Green.
It's him.
Yes.
No, yeah, it's him. No,
He
it's somebody
stopped
else.
being
but
married to
he's
Megan Fox and gave up on his
Yeah,
rap
and
career
went
and
on
decided to be
Saturday
a
Night
Trump
Live.
impressionist.
Da-na-na-na, na-na-na-na.
So this is what I was going to ask though.
Yeah.
How we got
Okay,
on that,
sorry.
I forgot. But what I was going to ask
You
is,
did your Doc Brown impression. That's what happened.
that's right. With Mr. Body,
Yes.
him being fingered as by Christopher Lloyd's character, Professor Plum, saying, what are you here for?
Yeah.
Wadsworth's about to
What
explain
his
it.
secret is.
Oh, you haven't told? You haven't
Yeah.
guessed? And then it cuts off.
Yeah.
Right? We don't
That should have
know,
been like
other than,
the trailer.
but we still don't think that he's the host. Because
He's
Wadsworth
only
says, sort of he's
Go
the
ahead.
host, but he's not the host. Maybe he's the host. We don't really know.
right. The only reason that indicates that he's some kind of a host is the letter that they read, where Mr. Body is going to take care of whatever that
Right.
financial burden that they have. So they know he's that, but when they all assume that he's the host, and he says it's for our other guest, Mr. Body. I thought he was our host. So who is our
Right.
host? And he doesn't say.
Wait, wait,
Um,
real quick.
Yeah,
Quick. Let's break
yeah,
down this letter
yeah.
real quick. Because it says
Okay.
where a Mr. Body will bring an end to a certain long-lasting financial obligation. Something like that,
Oh,
right?
you're reading it? Good job. I was about to look it up.
No, I'm
but
not
go ahead.
reading it. That's off the top of my head.
Oh, you just remember it? Brad Gilmore,
Yeah,
everybody.
I think
Jeez,
that's what
that's
they
why
said.
he has 12 podcasts. If it's not that, I've had to look it up a million times because I quote it a lot every time I promote a screening of Whodunit because I'm clever. But I always want to
Well,
look it up to see
let's
the
confirm
actual
that,
wording.
because if that is the case, I have a theory.
Okay, hold on.
So
Talk
Jeff's
about
looking
something
it
else.
up
Do
right now.
another impression.
Shut up. That's my Adam Sandler.
Abraham Lincoln. Oh, no? Okay. Shoot.
Have you found the letter?
Uh,
You are wearing a
You had a
Boston
letter? You had a letter?
hat. That's why I did the
am.
Adam Sandler.
Okay, yeah, he does wear that in Happy Gilmore. Okay, I have
Of
it.
course.
It will be to your advantage to be present at a dinner date. This is something I just found online, and I think it's off, but it's close enough. A dinner date because a Mr. Body will bring to an end a certain long-standing, confidential, and painful financial liability.
Boom.
It is signed
Okay.
a friend.
But wait, hold on now. Check this out. It does not say Mr. Body is the blackmailer in that.
No, it says a friend. No, he's
says
going to
friend.
save them.
Right. Wait. And Mr. Body brings murder weapons. Right?
Because he's going to murder
Bring an end.
Wadsworth, but then he's going to keep. This is coming up, but he says he's going to keep blackmailing them. So really,
Oh,
the
yeah.
letter's a lie.
Oh, man.
Because the only
Oh,
reason they're
he does say he's
killing
gonna keep
Wadsworth
blackmailing.
is. But then, hold on. No, I think he says, "If you murder me now, I'll." Damn it. Excuse me.
We'll get to it, but I want to keep this as a theory of maybe he was
Continue
meant to
going.
be a savior and not a host.
Okay.
I don't know.
You were going to come save me, Mr. Body? Oh, imagine, since he was dubbed, Lee Ving was dubbed anyway. Imagine if Adam Sandler. We know each other, don't we, dear? Adam Sandler
Yours
as
is
Mr.
pretty
Body.
good.
Oh, well, that's the first time we've done it. Recast all of Adam Sandler's regulars as the cast clue next time.
We could do that. We could make that
Rob
happen. Well, I want to
Schneider
keep this body
is-
through line. Maybe I'm completely off on
Yeah.
it, but we'll see in the next minute, 25, what exactly he
Yeah.
says. And I think 26 is when we get the introduction of the weapons. We'll see somewhere around there. And
Yeah, we're getting
we'll
there.
kind of keep an ear to it. But was there anything else in this minute we should cover? We covered geopolitics. We covered the differences in decades. We've talked about
Dude.
Lorena Bobbitt and Adam Sandler.
Yeah, and Doc Brown and Donald Trump on SNL.
Brian Austin Green had a reference.
Brian Austin Green, the theme from Beverly Hills 90210. That's pretty good range for I don't know, what has this been, 20 minutes? It's not bad.
About 20 minutes. Well, Jeff,
Yeah.
I think this brings an end to minute 24. We're going to pick this up in minute 25 of Clue the Movie podcast, where we break down this movie 1 minute at a time. ClueDoc.com.
That's me.
Jeff Smith. And then your Twitter is what again?
Which one? The movie or
your
me?
Twitter. Your Twitter.
Oh, my personal Twitter, Jeff C. Smith.
Jeff C. Smith. Jeff C.
As
Smith.
in Clue.
C as in Clue.
Well, that's not what it is, but
Oh, look at
is it a clue?
Is it a clue?
Is it a Twitter? I solved the clue.
And I'm at Brad Gilmore, and we'll be back with the
boat.
most unique podcast of all time, Clue the Movie podcast. We'll see y'all in minute 25.
Okay.